Hi, I'm Jeff Gonzalez, president of Trident Concepts, and today I want to talk to you about pressure testing your gear. So, what is pressure testing? Pressure testing is basically a means of evaluating whether or not your gear is going to perform under as close to operational conditions as you can expect. Now, it's difficult to actually replicate the exact type of environmental conditions that you may actually be doing the real thing in, so we have to create a little bit of artificiality. So what am I talking about? Well, let's talk about pressure testing your holster. Let's say that you've got a holster and it's an inside the waistband holster and it's attached via some clips or overhooks. Great. Many good holsters meet that criterion. What you want to do is you want to make sure that that holster with your type of wardrobe that you've selected, that's your pants and your belt and your shirt, are going to work together. Now, sure, you're going to practice some draw strokes, but that's easy stuff. That's the stuff that really doesn't make that big of a deal. Yes, I want to test to make sure that the way that it's worn and the way that I carry myself with the wardrobe makes sense. That's the easy part. The hard part is actual kind of testing it to make sure, or testing it to see where it's going to fail. So in our classes, a lot of times we'll see holsters fail on, well, in every class we typically see a holster fail. And what that means is that as the student is drawing the gun out, the holster comes separated from the body, and now the student has to strip the holster off to finish the drill. All right? So while that's an unfortunate circumstance, there is a contingency in place for it, but we want to try to avoid it. How do we avoid that? Better gear selection. But we wouldn't have known that if we hadn't pressure tested our gear. So what is pressure testing in this example with the holster? What it means is basically I need to test that holster to make sure that it's going to stay secure on my body through what I would consider light physical activity, maybe up to moderate. So how can I replicate that? What can I do to replicate some moderate physical activity that I might experience if I'm engaged in a violent close quarter fight? What could that be? Well, a couple things that I might have to do is I might need to do some, well, if we're going to get into this, we'll go into like the actual physical aspect of it. So a good way to test for the vertical would be to perform a burpee. If I were to go from this vertical position to that horizontal position, I'm going to test the basic carry-in mode of that holster through the vertical and the horizontal plane. It's a great way to test it. Is it going to stay on? Is it going to come off? I'm going to learn about it right then. Now, what I might find is that maybe positioning is important. Maybe I find that as I'm going through this light activity, that activity is causing my holster to potentially fail. So maybe I need to adjust it. And that could be tightening my belt, that could be moving the holster, a couple scenarios that you discover. If I really want to thoroughly test this, what I might actually do is I might add something to that burpee, like a box jump. So I might do the burpee first, and then as I jump up onto a box, and then I jump onto the other, or jump down off the other side, and repeat that process. What that's given me is that's given me an explosive action coming off the ground. And why that's important is because our body composition changes when we're involved in some sort of altercation. So the tension that I was relying on from my body, applying tension to the pants or the cover garment, is potentially going to be changing as I go through this light activity. And an explosive action like a box jump is going to really help isolate and identify that. So these are just this is just one simple example using a holster to figure out how to pressure test your gear. But I really encourage you to take a hard look at any of the things that you might consider to be emergency or critical equipment. Make sure that you have tested it at least to a light activity level. And if you find that it works, great. If you find that you might need to modify, change, or even replace it, this is the reason why we pressure test our gear. All right, I'm Jeff Gonzalez. Would love to hear your questions or comments. Please feel free to post them down below. Until then, take care and stay safe.